Hello, you are very welcome to Under Construction with Chadwicks. I'm Donncha Callan and I am delighted to join Pat Moore. Pat, how are you?
Very well, Donny, and yourself?
Pat, you'll be delighted that we finally have got some proper sports star in the rooms today, so good news for you.
I was going to say 4 GAA legends and you. So,
that's the way to take it. Yes, we are delighted to be joined by Kilkenny legend JJ Delaney. JJ, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. Yourself, how are things?
Good. Thanks so much for joining us. We've Wexford's finest Lee Chin. Lee, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
And we have Tomás Waters. Tomás, how are you?
Great, thanks, Sam.
Tomás, or Mossy, you know what I mean?
Well, it's Tomás and I suppose lad, Mossy, I suppose the lad, but...
I always feel, lads, you have to earn the right to call someone their nickname. You know what I mean? You can't just come into it. So, Mossy, I've nearly 94 caps. Like, surely I never togged out, but any other decent nicknames around your place? JJ, yours is fairly obvious, though. You never really picked one up, did you?
No, never did. There was a wrestler, Jeff Jarrett, before, and that was the main one I got Chris and Jeff all right now, but my name is short enough now at the moment,
exactly.
So they have to extend my name, not shorten it.
Same for you, Lee, though. There's no real nickname, is there?
No, not really. Like, my name is short enough. Like, it's just, you know, it's just adding a few letters to the second name sometimes, lads, but just Chinner or Chinny, just things like that, but not an extreme, no.
He was called chin-ups for a while. He could do about 100 chin-ups. So.
Oh, exactly. Batman, just leave him on a bar.
Just looking at his arms there and looking at yours, don't get Jesus Christ.
You're not wrong. All right, Pat. We won't go into yours, fella. They look like they should be hanging out of a nest. Mossy, where did the nickname come from?
Well, I suppose Tomás Mossy and us kind of picked it up in primary school and never left me, I suppose.
I was on the search for a nickname for a while. Dunners is quite obvious with the lads, but they started calling me Zebra for a bit because it was just basically a boring donkey. You know what I mean? Like a black and white boring donkey. So they thought that's a good enough nickname for him. But lads, you are so welcome to Under Construction with Chadwicks. So let's get it done. And JJ, I might go to you first. Obviously, brilliant career in the game, but always trying to balance, you know, your sport and work. And how have you find that transition away now that you're, you know, fully away from the game and just being able to work as normal?
Yeah, it's great because I don't know, when I was playing, you were kind of going on sites or going into the likes of Chadwick's branches there, and you're kind of guarded a bit with your opinion, really, I suppose, a small thing, because you didn't want that to get out, especially you were in Wexford, you didn't want to say about the Wexford boys, you're in Waterford, you didn't want to say about the Waterford boys, you were kind of keeping stum now, you're kind of an art in itself by calling into places and not saying anything, you know, but when you're finished up, you can have a proper chat with the guys behind the counter there or the builders in at the counter. It's great crack, you know, the kind of way you can rise them away now, and they'll bite every time there as well, which is brilliant, you know, the kind of way. So no, it's good, you'll enjoy it, but as I said, but when you're playing, you're just entirely focused on Kilkenny and the panel, whereas now you could actually you appreciate good matches now at the moment as well when other counties are playing as well, because you just have blinkers on when you're playing yourself, and whereas now you can appreciate the whole championship, you know, which is brilliant. It's
amazing though, it does need a little bit of time, doesn't it?
It does,
because I found that the same for me, like when you're just out of it, you're I was a little bit resentful because you see your own buddy still in it, and you're kind of thinking...
It took me a few years, to be honest with you. I still kind of struggle with it small, but you're still thinking back in your own head, maybe it's small of an ego you have. You might be able to do something there, but for a few years after, I wouldn't call myself a supporter. It's kind of the worst thing to say, but then a couple of games happened there a couple of years ago, and I said, I'm big into it now. You got that passion of a supporter's back, and you see why people go to the game, and you're kind of reacting to every ball really more than that as well. That's back in me again, which is brilliant. You can get back on supporting the games again and supporting the team, which is that's what it's all about, you know.
And are you doing any coaching down below?
Yeah, I'm involved with Kilkenny under-20s this year now as well, which is it's a big step up now. I was playing up to probably last year as well. So yeah, Mark Dowling was the manager down there. He asked me there at the start of January would I come on board, and delighted. It's a great experience. It's a good way of dipping your toe in the water as well. And under-20 championship, we wouldn't allow back in the field until the start of January. And if you get to the final all going well, it's the end of May. So it's a short period. Intense, and the lads are training very, very hard at the moment. But it's interesting to get involved back into a team at that level as well. So it's a good way of dipping your toe in it. Either you get involved or else you might never go near a hurling field again, one or the other. So we'll see if how kind of well the year goes
I can imagine a 20-year-old looking up at you now, 9 All-Irelands in the bag.
They were too young.
No intimidation at all.
I was thinking the other day, now I'm twice their age, you know, the kind of way.
I know that feeling, yeah.
You know, when you see the lad coming in the school uniform, you're kind of say, right, bring it back down to reality, and you see they're 6'1" or 2", and you're kind of looking up at these lads, but then they're wearing a uniform as well. But no, it's great. It's great because it's great to be involved back into the game, because you got so much out of Kilkenny as well. So sure, why not try and give back a small bit of experience as well? So hopefully it'll go well for the year.
Working at Kingsspan, obviously a big supplier of Chadwick's. You've been there a long time, nearly as long as I've been with Chadwick's. Starting off then when you were playing, like the career was going, and then you were working for Kingsspan, how difficult was that then for you?
It was difficult, all right, but it was good. It was good. You kind of, when you go into the sites now, you'll always find someone at GAA. You'd see someone with a GAA top on or something. You go over, and when you have your hard hat and you're kind of your short jumper on, they think you're either a taxman or health and safety lad coming into them first. So when you explain who you are and where you're from, you see the whole thing drops there as well, and they can chat away to you. But it's great crack, you know what I mean? But again, as you know, Pat, you walk in the door and you'll have a chat with Hurling away and GAA away, but you have to get your prices right there as well, and you have to supply the site there as well. They'll talk to you away, no problem at all, but then you can walk out. Actually, I didn't sell that when they walked into the site there. With a great conversation, all right, but it's no good to Kingsspan. So yeah, you have to get your business done as well, and that's why you're learning. We're a bit green at the start, all right, but you learn fairly quick when you walk into the sites now.
So you start with Kingsspan then, obviously when you started to today, what have you seen really noticed in relation to technology, sustainability, where the market was and where the market is? Well, you guys have seen a lot of stuff.
Chalk and cheese now at the moment, you know what I mean? In regarding, even go back to last year, availability of chemical for supplying insulation really more than that, and she's seen that as well, and it was kind of loaves and fishes there for a long time. But just methods of constructions that have changed so much. You have to adapt to it. When I started, it was all block walls in your cavity, and that was it. But now you have timber frame, you've metal frame, and you've ICF. You've so many options out there at the moment there as well. So you're competing against them, and then as a company, you're trying to develop as much as and try and predict where the market is going to go there as well, and get out in front of these things and get there as well. So yeah, it's interesting. Every day is different as well. Like, you know what I mean? You have to fight for every sale as well, sure, as you know yourselves as well. So it is interesting, but to develop as a time, and developing products is a big thing. And when you have initial, probably it'll take 2 or 3 years before it gets in sight. When it does get on site, then you're proud it goes in sight then as well. Like, you know, so
you better get a plug in for the place up in Kingsspan, the new innovation.
Yeah, Icon is a huge development centre for ourselves there as well. So we get customers up there too and see what. It's great for the customers to come up and see what is coming down the track there as well, what we're trying to go and try to get there as well, because every day today you probably think they're standing still, but there is development and products coming on board that will hopefully kind of help us Kingsspan going forward as well, you know.
Lee, for you, you're still in it, massively competitive at the time, but you don't really look beyond it when you're in it, isn't it? It's week in, week out. But, you know, listening to JJ, it does come to an end. Have you kind of put things in place to fill the void of sport?
Again, it's probably something I haven't fully addressed yet, the aftermath, because you just don't see where it's going to end yet. It could end tomorrow, I suppose, but you know, it's interesting just to hear the take on where you stand, I suppose, when you finish up in your career from JJ there, just trying to probably find it hard to separate yourself from the game, to become, I suppose, that supporter. You probably feel like you're still worth something there, and you still have a say, and I suppose it's hard to walk away from something like that, I'd imagine, where you feel like you're a big part of it before, and you know, you're now all of a sudden just not part of it anymore. It's something that I could imagine when time comes for me, that I'd probably find a similar transition tough. But look, it's something that I know is around the corner. Hopefully I get another couple of years out of it. But at the moment, I'm just still enjoying my hurling. I'm still enjoying competing and trying to get the best out of myself and the most around my colleagues and the lads around me. And yeah, like just having, you know, you're every year, it's funny, you go back to the same old script. You might think it's getting old, it's just you're getting older, but the same things, the same sentence, same lines still come up, the same sort of going to the well, the honesty sessions, all that stuff still happens. And as much as you might find you're repeating yourself, there's lads in the room that's never been heard it before, young lads, you know. So it's just being able to remember all that kind of stuff as well, and having conversations with fellas that are getting frustrated, might be getting game time when you're trying to be there for them, you know. It's tough for them, and I admire them fellas, because they're the lads that essentially keep the whole ship going, you know. They're the guys that, for me, it's enjoyable. I'm turning up and I'm getting a lot of game time and stuff, and then there's some fellas there that just don't get as much game time at all, and they're the guys that I admire madly, because like I said, there just wouldn't be a panel and there wouldn't be county teams and that kind of stuff without them.
And Lee, just tell us about the makeup of your dressing room at the moment. If we look at the past, there would have been an awful lot of trades, farmers, different type of manual work within it. How's it look in your dressing room now at the moment?
Yeah, when I first started, I think I first started my inter-county career in 2012, and I would have been in the Wexford football dressing room at the time. And hard to remember back then what lads' professions were, but particularly when I went into the hurling panel in 2013, there was a good few lads that would have been in the trade game. Mossy being one of them beside me here, and as you can see, it is a dying breed in the inter-county setup, particularly in our own. I couldn't name 2 or 3 lads that are in the trade game in our own panel at the moment. It's just something I suppose lads have made some decisions for themselves moving forward in their lives. If they want to be an inter-county hurler, if they want to play at an elite level, that is probably something that was a bit overly challenging at times on the body and on the mind. So at the moment, there's a lot of teachers, a lot of office workers, sales, all that sort of background to a lot of the people that are in our dressing room at the moment.
Yeah. Mossy, what's changed? Because you did it. You know what I mean? You balanced both, working like that and an unbelievable career.
Yeah, but I think when I was doing it, I started out, when I started my time as a carpenter, I was 18, and things were kind of different then. With the county team wasn't as intense, like, you know what I mean? There wasn't so much emphasis on the gym or meetings after about analysis and all. There wasn't as much of that. So, I was working in Wexford, and it was kind of, I was able to balance it pretty good. As in, I was working away, serving my time with a local fella, and when I was home at a reasonable hour, still got time to get something to eat and go training. Now you would be tired, all right, but it was manageable. But the further on into the career, I found there was too much involved with the county team, and your career was going to kind of have to take a sideline. And I was trying to manage it as best I could. Half of my career at Wexford, I was working for someone, but in the middle of it, I set up my own business. And during when that started getting going, I was neither being fair to my hurling career or my own business, because one was taken from the other. And in 2013, then I got a really bad injury, and that I found it hard to get back after that. And to be honest, it kind of hit home with me then. It's either one or the other, and I kind of made the choice. I'd probably never really recovered rightly after the injury, and I just said I kind of hadn't much more to give to the county, so I put all my emphasis then and time into my own business. And I think now, when I was even finishing it up, I could see I can't see any other men or women actually going playing a county role and even working for someone. It was just gone, your diet, gym, you nearly time and you couldn't really nearly have a job. To be honest, I found
it's amazing you say it. We understand the commitment levels being incredible, but give us an example like that. You mentioned kind of nutrition, even the strength and conditioning probably had changed in that short period.
Yeah, the guy was, I don't know, I suppose when I went out working for myself, I was hungry, and you know what I mean? You had to really graft, and to be honest, I never really done the gym. I couldn't. I used to just kind of stay somewhat supple, but I used to be flogged after a day's work anyway, so the gym was kind of the last thing on my mind. And nutrition was, to be honest, when you're working for yourself, you're more or less eating to stay alive and stay going more so than, I found the nutrition very hard. I was, you wouldn't have time to prep a meal or whatever, and so you'd be kind of eating out of shops and salad roll, whatever. But the nutrition was very hard, as in the lads used to be putting up WhatsApp pictures of what to be eating, sliced avocado salads and all, and we'd be I'd be ashamed to send a picture of what I'd be eating.
Yeah, but it's different because you're actually...
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I kind of say, if you took on a job, you're putting your... when you're putting your own money on the line, you have to get the job done. And so the hurling for me was grand, but I was getting very frustrating for me because I couldn't give the time I wanted for the hurling, obviously, because I was trying to build my own business outside of it as well. And I just thought it was the end. I had to pack in.
What year was that you started?
2000. I started working for myself about 2011 and 12. So And now, to be honest, when I was working for someone, it wasn't as bad. But then the work dried up during the recession, and then, it got harder because I had to go to Dublin. So, like, you were coming home from Dublin.
That's Dublin's not that bad. Let's not get stuck into the Dublin thing now. Ease up now.
It's a long road down every evening. Like, coming from work, you mightn't have time to go home and get changed. And, you might be you'd be grabbing something on the way, like, for training, and you'd be getting there, and then you have to go back up the road again. Could be 12, half 12 before you get in, and then you're back up again at 6 o'clock, like.
Yeah.
And just, you were putting in, like, fairness, I will say, for working on trades, you had great mental strength, like, do you know what I mean? You were tough, but the only thing is your body, it kind of let you down because you were fatigued a lot, and you weren't getting the recovery you should be, like, do you know what I mean? You'd be getting out of bed and you'd be just ghost, like.
JJ, I find that fascinating. It's the most interesting point for me. Like, the strength and condition side of it, of course, it has moved on, but the mentality, probably just the fatigue levels from just being constantly on and trying to keep up with probably players in your dressing room that are in different professions, but you're competing with them.
Yeah, sure. That's it. Look, any dressing room is very, very competitive by nature, and you're looking over and a teacher there who has maybe 3 months off during the summer, and you're still getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, that kind of stuff. But you see, kind of listen to Mossy again, any person that runs their own business, even in the Kingsspan installation job there as well, you'll be getting emails off them 10, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night because they never switch off. They can't switch off because that's their entire business, that's their livelihood, you know, kind of. Whereas, and then you're asking, a manager asking that person to dedicate their life to a sport, for example, which should be a pastime sport, and you're kind of saying the reality of the whole thing is that this is not life or death, because my job is, because I have to, even if you have a family, you have a wife, you have kids, they come first, you know what I mean? How can you physically put that forward at front? It's just not possible, you know what I mean? But yeah, just come back to that competition is a huge thing within the dressing room, and you could resent other players for not going through what, it's not a level playing field, you know what I mean? Whereas you played professional, then again, everyone was the same routine, and you had your off time and everyone that. But when it comes to J dressing room, it's not, you know what I mean? And the problem is I see that creeping into club dressing rooms as well, in regarding that probably professionalism that shouldn't be there. That should be an enjoyment level, and it's creeping up that people will turn their back on it if it stays going the way it's going, because what they're asked to do, and the more the club lads will be travelling for Dublin, they are more trades, and your lads are literally getting out of the van in his work clothes, togged out, and he could be 10 or 15 minutes late because there's a crash coming down from Dublin or whatever it is, and then the manager's giving out to them for being late, and you're kind of saying, mentally, I don't need this, because it's hard enough doing a day's work the way he's doing it, and then you're getting grief for going training, which should be a pastime. So I think that really needs to be addressed, because that's getting too serious for clubs at the moment, you know.
And it is, Lee, it's the beauty of it. You know what I mean? It's people representing where they're from and caring so much that they're willing to do it on top of everything else they do. Like JJ touched on it there. I was lucky enough to play professional rugby, but it sounds crazy. It was so easy. It was so easy when you're professional. Everything is done for you. We had a trolley every 3 hours. If you were in Munster, a trolley with the perfect snack would come in, and it would break every session. If you're doing meetings, line-outs, whatever it is, it was fuel them. You know what I mean? And it was just, everything was taken. You left every session kind of going, I'm back to zero and I feel perfectly fine, as opposed to, like Mossy was saying there, having to jump in the car and being bits, you know?
Yeah. No, I did. I would have heard a term there not too long ago that a lot of the GAA at the moment has been, I suppose, fuelled off love over logic. Like, I suppose for lads in clubs and stuff like that now, all you'd ever see them in is their Snickers gear and their pants and stuff, you know, their work gear and their plaster. They're full of hardball, you know, coming into training and stuff like that, and especially in the club, more so than in their county. But I can still see the challenges, I suppose, in county and things like that. Lads living in Dublin, and they're trying to live their lives, I suppose, and the jobs that they have. And like I said, there's not too many of them in the Wexford panel at the moment that would have trade jobs. But even at the time when I was at the start of my career, and I seen a lot of the lads in the panel in their trade jobs, you know, I could tell that it was tolling on them, because I could see the game was changing a bit, and the routine and the schedule was changing a lot. Particularly from my early days, for first 5 years, I could see a massive turnaround in terms of where it was going and how it was going, and you could just see the I suppose a lot of the lads that were in the trade game were just kind of filtering out of the dressing room, and there weren't as many of them as prominent anymore there. As tough as even it was, even the schedule back even around the time when Mossy would have started his business in 2012, like it is some way achievable if you're really I suppose serious about it. Like Mossy had a serious season in 2013, nominated for an All-Star. While he was trying to run that company and being in his trade work, as much as he's talking about it being tough, he still managed to get the best out of himself in that environment and in that situation. And I can see some lads can still manage to do it, but it's just probably not something that's for everyone at the moment. And it is something that, again, like JJ said, in the club scene at the moment, it is something you find sometimes with the club that a bit of enjoyment might be gone over a bit. Because it is gone so serious, and the schedule of clubs sometimes has gone so serious now, and I can only imagine you'd like to see what the schedule was like maybe 20-25 years ago in the inter-county scene. I can imagine the club scene at the moment is not too far away from that.
You know, we're struggling, the construction sector is struggling to get young people in particular on the gender diversity piece. The ladies, and we had two fantastic ladies in one of the episodes, a crane driver and an electrical technical specialist. The construction trade yourself though, you've come through, you know, you've started 2012. It is still a great sector to be in, and you know, as part of the podcast, we're trying to encourage more so parents to realise, look, it's not all about the office job, and it's not all about the sitting behind a desk. Construction is still a fantastic sector to be involved in.
Like any young fella or young man or woman, I couldn't advise them anymore. Like, as in, it's a great, trades are brilliant. Like, as in, you're say whatever age you're coming to. When I was 16. Whatever, I was very lucky from the point I knew what I wanted to do from a very young age. I wanted to be a carpenter and a builder, like, so I wanted to work with my hands. And I remember the guidance counsellor was kind of my father was the principal of the primary school, so he was kind of trying to steer me away when I told him what I wanted to do, and kind of a small element of snobbery, kind of, I thought. And as in, my brother is a good scholar, and everyone else, the family was. So he was kind of saying, "Did you run it by your father?" Like, and I said, "I did, yeah." And I said, "No, Pa, he's encouraging me to do it." And anyway, I had another couple of meetings. He wouldn't let it lie. Like, he kind of kept pushing other yokes on me, and I kind of ran it by a few lads I knew. My brother as well. He was in college, and I said to him, and he said, "No, you definitely go for it." He said, "I know you. Like, that's what you're. You know, I mean, there's no point doing something." Please someone else. That's what I wanted to do. So I kept going with it anyway. And even my mother was a bit kind of iffy, but she filled out the CAO form anyway. So I said we'd have a few options, but my mind was made up. So I took the money out of the CAO form and put it in my pocket, and I threw the CAO in the bin. So I said, "That's me. I know what I'm doing," and it was the best decision I ever made doing a trade.
So what sort of advice would you give? I'm a 16-year-old young lad in school or a girl in school, and I'm thinking, right, where's my career going to go? What sort of...
I think it's a trade. I couldn't advise it anymore, like, because, do you know what I mean? Especially with sport, like, the way I looked at the trade was, I got the same feeling if you hurl a game and you hurl really well, like, same thing if you had a little job to do. I don't know, say if you're a chippy and you put up hung a wall or made up a stud partition wall or whatever, I got the same kind of bit of pride and when I got that self-achievement, it was great. I got that same feeling like playing a good game of hurling, and I couldn't see myself getting that in other jobs. And I love being out and around up early in the morning, and I love the kind of the drive you had with it. And like, then again, you're earning money, you're a young man. Like, I couldn't. I think young people are going to college and they don't really know what they're doing, and they're doing a couple of years, and then when they come out with their course, they still have to do a few more years. I think they should be definitely thinking of a trade, and then see what to do, because you have so many options after a trade. Whatever. And
that would be my next question, because you're kind of individual in the fact that you have a trade, now you have a business. What was the transition like from being a tradesman and then starting your own business? Because I think one of the fears of, say, a young lad who's 16 or 18 who's a carpenter or electrician, if he's going to make that next transition into being, actually, I'm going to be a boss now and I'm going to go in and I'm going to price jobs. What's that like?
Well, to be honest, I found it quite easy. Like, you have great people skills. You're working with different people every day, and there's always some element of drama. So you're going to learn how to deal with that. Like, do you know what I mean? That's the same way with running the business. I found, do you know what I mean? The harder I worked, the easier it got. I just thought I came relatively. Now, in fairness, some of the admin thing was a little bit at the start. I found it a bit difficult, but do you know what I mean? I got a little bit of help on that. And sure, you know, I kicked on after that. There was no problem. Like.
And JJ, they're always giving out about us because we're behind the desks, you know, with the pen pushers. But there's also a lot of work in our end of it when you look at what we do and what you do. You see to yourselves, what would you kind of advice would you give to young lads and young women who are on the cusp of saying college and then going on to like we are sales and we're in purchasing? So what tips would you give?
I'd definitely say if you're 15, 16, 17, try and get a couple of months during the summer on the sites there as well. Give it a go before you make your decision. Don't rule it out straight away. I worked a couple of summers on sites, but unfortunately my hands let me down. I wasn't any good at it now, unfortunately, but that made a decision for me fairly quick.
If 9 out of you're all right.
Exactly. I can't even hang a picture at home. That's my wife now, she'll be giving out to me.
There's two of us in it.
The two brother-in-laws are electricians. Only for them now the house wouldn't be running at all. So, I'd say give it a go. Get on the sites in the best couple of months during the summer as well, and you would earn it, and it's great enjoyment from walking. I mean, you're tired coming off a day's work. That's what you want to do, you know what I mean? And get in there and get involved. And I went kind of around a different way. I went to college and done construction economics, but because I done them couple of summers there on the construction sites, I enjoyed the buzz of it, and the crack is brilliant on the sites as well. And the people you meet there in the sites and in the likes of Chadwicks as well, it's brilliant because you just don't know what day is going to happen in front of you. You have it planned out in your head, but it's going to be completely different and it works out. But yeah, I went to college in construction economics and then went out selling, because at least I had a construction background to back it up then as well. So it's good that way, but as I said, I wouldn't rule it out. If you're half interested at all, get yourself out and get yourself, because if you go up to a builder and said, have you any work? People will always kind of give you work because they like the initiative, especially in the construction industry. If you show that initiative there as well, you'll get that repay too. So yeah, half interested, get out and work for a couple of months and see how it goes, see if it's for you or not.
And Lee, are you handy around the house?
I wouldn't be as handy as the two lads now, I'd imagine. But
Conor Mossy on the phone.
yeah, exactly. But no, I would have, like, when I was younger, 18, 19, I would have done a year's working with an electrician back at home. It's funny that even JJ just saying it there, you know, the crack that you'd have as well on sites and stuff like that. Like over Christmas there, I was actually, ironically enough, working in Chadwicks, Wexford Park, putting up the lights for the big night we had against yourselves. Kilkenny there for the opening night. Yeah, I was in working with the same electrician that I was with for a year when I was younger. He was just stuck for bodies at the time. And
hold on a second, no way. So you were helping put up the lights?
Yeah, well, we're probably it's the floor.
Putting them up the lights.
You know that trolley that Munster used to bring in.
But like this,
yeah, no, I suppose like in a stadium, people see the floodlights, but it's what we were in to do was the lighting around for the fans coming in. Obviously, you have to light up the whole stadium, you know. Wow. So we were doing all the lights in the bathrooms and in the stands and all the walkways and the back of the car park and stuff. So we were there for about 2 months, working on that, and like there was lads from the club that was also working with this guy, so you know it was just good crack getting in the morning, seeing the lads, and you'd meet some characters and you'd be working with them for the day, and you'd come out in good form. Like it was always that side of things to it. But like I said, I started out in electrical work for about a year, just when I was about 18 or 19, and it was around when times were tough, I suppose, for tradies and stuff and things like that, so there wasn't a whole lot of work in it. And I suppose for myself, after that, I would have decided that I wanted to do something else, and I actually went and took a barber's course. I always had a thing for cutting hair, and I decided I'd take a 6-month course in Wicklow, and I done that and I got qualified as a barber, and I went working at that then for 2 or 3 years. So I would have dabbled in different bits throughout my time hurling. You know, I'd always have, I suppose, I'd be busy enough with stuff on the social media side of things, just doing stuff with my own social media, and a couple of opportunities I would have got, fortunately enough, throughout my career. But at the same time, you'd still always be trying to find what you want to do and what you want to do for after, like we spoke about earlier. But like I would have, for a couple of years, I have a coffee shop at home as well with my club and the community, so it's nice to just add something there. And I'm currently sitting my QFA exams as well. Banking exams, you know, so it's just a few things that you try to let your mind wander and figure out throughout your career what it is that you want to do. Like, it is tough, but even in the trade game, I do see the benefits in it, in terms of being handy with your hands and going and following something like a trade, whatever it may be. And it is, like JJ said, even on the summer times when he was on sites there, it would have been, you know, you would have learned a lot, and it would have been fun times too, like I would have experienced over Christmas time there.
Yeah. Because Mossy, that's the worry. We probably, just for me, maybe we are going to get great athletes because of maybe different roles that they're working, but we lose the mentality, do we? You know, that kind of, you know, you mentioned the people skills, the problem solving, the hardy fella, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The guy that's actually probably in a row at work, you know, confrontation at work, you know. That
Yeah, true, yeah.
Not kind of soft skills. I don't want to be tough
No,
on
but
teachers,
I
but I
think,
doubt
yeah.
senior infants are going really tough on challenging.
I don't know.
Your jolly phonics aren't on it.
But I think young people probably are not being exposed, as JJ hit on it, they're getting a summer job now, like they're not getting any exposure to it, so they don't really know what it's like. And I think that's a big thing, like is young people now, sure, you know what I mean, they don't even cut the grass anymore. You've robot lawnmowers now, and like, you know what I mean, no one brings in even a bucket of coal anymore, like, do you know what I mean? So young people are not getting that exposure to it to kind of to see what it's like to work on a building site.
JJ, just on that point, like you're working, you said, with the under-20s. Have you, like, we always chat about developing leadership and seeing it kind of come true, but it can't just happen at training. You know what I mean? It actually needs a village, doesn't it? It needs everyone around kind of shaping people to nearly craft your leadership skills.
It's huge, yeah. You're looking for them to take ownership over it. Look, if today you walk into a dressing room, you don't have to say a word as a manager or a selector. You're doing a great job because the team itself is taking the whole thing over. But you need a few leaders on that particular team there for it. And you're trying to encourage in regarding, look, if you have an opinion, voice it. There's never a right or wrong within any dressing room, because if you have something to say and you think genuinely it's going to benefit the team or the panel, come out and say it and we'll have a conversation about it. No issues there whatsoever. But you're kind of encouraging that as much as you can. Again, we're conscious that, look, they're coming out of school there as well, and look, they're developing their own personalities as well, so you're not putting pressure on guys, but there's an open forum there as well. If they want to say something, by all means, we're contactable there as well, and you're regularly in contact with them. You have a phone call with them and see how they're getting on and see how they think a train is going, that kind of stuff. You probably get more of them regarding that and regarding encouraging them to say something in the dressing room after it. You might see something like that. So it's beneficial if you're working with a guy, maybe 6 or 7 guys on individuals on their own, and you see them come out of their shell a small bit more in regarding being a leader and on and off the field. And there's ways of doing it. You don't have to shout around the dressing room or anything like that, and you can get among a few lads and be a leader that way and do it on the field too, you know, the way. So it's not just, I think young people think that a leader is that guy that shouts the loudest. It doesn't have to be that way all the time either, you know. It's about leading the team on the field and bringing the few lads around you with you. Once you up it in training, you see a few guys in training who won't name or anything like that, but when they bring their A game, 4 or 5 lads around them up their game because he does it, if you get me, you know, the kind of way. So you're trying to encourage that as much as you can, and you're developing as, we're under 20, we're developing for the senior team, but you're developing as a person as well. You're trying to develop them as a person as well, to get them right. But anyone that is in that kind of development is kind of he wants to develop themselves as a person. Physically, they want to get developed, hurling, and as a person, they want to develop as well. So there is a bit of ownership on themselves to do that too. So look, again, you're trying to put a platform there. It won't work with every person, but if you've 1 or 2 better people coming out of the dressing room after you're working for 6 months, you'd be happy your job is done. Like,
I think we're all agreeing, because we see that leader. There is the leaders everyone knows about and speaks about, and they bring it all the time, but there's a group underneath it. They're nearly the drivers,
huge, yeah.
isn't it?
And they're the people that talk, and everyone, you hear a pin drop. Noel Hickey was brilliant for Kilkenny down through the years. Never spoke all the time, but hit the nail on the head when he had to. When he spoke, everyone kind of stood up and took notice of it. It's just brilliant when someone does that.
We were saying about Dennis Leamy, he'd speak for 3 minutes and it'd last 3 months.
Yeah. You'll never forget them ones. You'll never forget it. It's huge.
Lee, do you think it's possible now to have the balance? You know, like Mossy's encouraging people to look at trades, but you're in the dressing room. Do you think it's, from what you were doing, even you were saying there, falling in and working out and labouring, is it still possible to do with the demands of the game?
Just from my own bit of experience, not that I have a bundle of it from being on sites or being in a trade game, but I suppose, I think it is possible. Like, I think it is possible as long as you have, I suppose, a sound boss. If you're working for yourself, you manage your own time, I suppose, around things, and you have to get very good at managing your own time in that case, in that scenario. But if you're a young man and you're working for someone like Mossy, you know, if Mossy was to be, I suppose, fair and lenient with a guy, knowing that he's trying to play an inter-county career, achieve an inter-county career, that you can be very fair with him. And, you know, I just suppose help him out along the way, because he knows himself from being in inter-county scene, it's a very demanding schedule. And you just can't be burning the candle at both ends in the game. It's just too high a level. Like, I have a cousin at home there that's 3 years, an electrician at the moment, and he's in the panel at Wexford. And he does find it quite tough, I suppose, the time and the schedules that he's on from both ends, from work and from the I suppose the Wexford Senior Hurling team. But he's managing, and all, I suppose, how he's achieving that is because the guy he's working for is you know, fairly fair with him, and he loves it. He loves doing what he's doing, and he's heading off to Foss soon to start his first phase, and you know, he's stuck in. He's all in for it, like, so he's really interested, and he's really wanting to get his trade and get qualified, and he's very, very motivated to try make a you know, an appearance for Wexford as well. So I just looking at that type of an example, there is certain individuals out there that can manage it a bit better, but I think it is about managing your time, and if you can get someone on your side, like a boss, that can help you manage that time, I think it is definitely achievable.
Well, from my perspective, the whole TikTok, Instagram, Mossy, JJ, you didn't have to worry about that growing up.
You don't have to worry about that.
Even though, you know, I don't know what TikTok is, but Lee, in your position, you mentioned social media, you're driving this on it. It's a huge transformation from when, no disrespect to the lads, played a while ago, but the social media side now is massive, isn't it? Both from the game perspective, even from a work perspective, we can see in Chadwick's the TikTok videos and the Instagram videos and all that. How do you handle that? How do you manage that? Because it's
it is. It's heavily involved in everything that we do. It's everyday life now. You know, obviously for me, I've been fortunate enough throughout my career to be able to avail of it a bit, and it's not something that I'm very socially active anyway. I'm not very mad on social media in terms of things that I be putting up with my private life or anything like that, but
like this fella.
Yeah.
No, but I just think it's something you be very conscious of when you're still in your playing career. It's not something that you like putting yourself out there too much, you know, and it's not who I am. It's just I suppose when you're playing, you don't want to be putting yourself on somebody else's radar, and you know, it's just, you're very conscious of that. But it is a great benefit, I suppose, to people, especially people in sport these days. They're gaining a lot from it, and like, it's something that I do avail of now and again, working with various different brands. Just kind of, I suppose, you're a brand yourself, I suppose, as well, that you try to promote and different things. So, like, you just, like for me, I have dabbled in it, but it's something in sport at the moment that is very attractive to people. But it's how you manage it too, because it could go south very quickly too, you know.
But Mossy, we've heard the good side and the beneficial, and to be fair, the players deserve that for the amount of sacrifices they make, and they're of interest, and it's how we probably see, like Lee, that's how I can see what you're at. And for me, you know, for my kids, you're a role model, and it's been able to spot for you. But there is the other side of it as well, where people do run their mouths and get really tough on people on social media, and I think it's probably something that could be a concern, especially with younger players in the game. I'd one teammate, a winger in that I was Worcester, but I remember he used to take his phone to the bathroom at half time, and he would honestly check what people are saying on social media about his performance. And it took a bit of time to kind of say, man, you know, you don't need to do that. What matters is in the room. But that's where he looked for.
Yeah, no, it's a problem, I suppose, as young people are too engrossed in it now and what everyone else thinks, like, whereas they should be kind of more concentrating on themselves more than what anyone else thinks, like, you know.
Yeah. It's easy to have a dig though, JJ, isn't it? You're sitting on your arse on a couch at home, you know what I mean?
Yeah, everyone's opinion, like, you know what I mean? But would they say it to the person's face? I highly doubt it, to be honest with you, you know what I mean? But again, it's all about not giving these people power really more than that. And
business-wise then, Mossy, how are things?
Yeah, great. No, thank God, we're flying it.
Future looking good.
Yeah.
JJ?
Yeah, it's a good start to the year so far anyway. We're hoping a few of the one-offs will kick off now. It's time of the year for it too, so if they kick off, then again it'll be a nice little balance. The sites are busy at the moment as well, so good couple of months so far, and March has been decent so far as well, you know what I mean? So get a spell of weather in March and April, that will be happy enough, and a few one-offs come up.
The coffee shop?
Yeah, well, it's
get your plug in now while you can.
Yeah, no, it's pretty seasonal. Like I said, it's very community based back at home with the club, and it's just more so when the activity starts going out in the field, it's when it's most prosperous. So it'll be up and going again soon. All the underage training and stuff is getting back.
Are you still cutting hair?
I do still, family and friends and things.
There
I think I've cut Mossy's hair once or twice. Maybe, yeah.
Do you coach the lads in the dress, or cut the
Some
lads?
of them, if some of them did ask, like, you know, like barbering these days, it's gone quite an expensive game as
course,
well.
yeah.
Like it costs a lot to get a haircut, especially if you've a big head like that.
Hold on,
You're not allowed to discriminate against big heads.
Are you actually giving him a quote for the size of his head? Mossy, you can't fit you in today.
Mossy brings the measure. Mossy brings the measuring tape, and I
Anybody listening found that segment's difficult, you can call.
But yeah, that's me pretty much. The coffee stuff is only a small thing for the club, along with myself. But like I said, I'm sitting the QFA exams at the minute, so I'm just studying at the moment and just trying to knock that out. Yeah.
Mossy, one point you made there earlier on that I'm just interested in. Lee, you said it about an understanding boss. How important is that you've understanding management and coaches as well to kind of go?
Well, that's probably where it all hinges on is the coach. Like, I mean, they're so demanding now. I remember when we used to fill out a questionnaire every day before training, how much sleep you get, and it was 1 to 5 with a smiley face to a big sad face. I don't think I ever got out a sad face because that's how tired you are. You're short in sleep, but it was never even mentioned. Like, you know what I mean? Or I think managers, everyone's getting paid. All the backroom team are getting paid, and they'll just get the most out of you. And to be honest, their own welfare doesn't really come into it. I find, anyways, in your own career, when you come to training, you're the same as everyone else. Like, and I think managers probably needs to, if someone is doing a trade, I think they should have a little, not special treatment, but there should be definitely a few tweaks made, I think, for that to accommodate the tradesmen, because like, you're on your feet all day, you're up and down ladders. Do you know what I mean? If you're after doing a hard session the night before and you have to go to the gym again that night, like, your body's not recovering. And I think if managers did come on board with that, you probably would see more tradesmen in intercounty scene, as in if they were accommodated to a better standard, like, you know. And obviously the boss they're working for needs to be accommodating too.
Yeah, of course.
I can see loads of applications going into model construction.
But it's important, JJ, isn't it? Just that balance to realise, you know, like Mossy's been on site all day.
Yeah.
He's all right for maybe this part of strength and condition, or just thinking a different way about it.
It's huge. You can't be a one-stop shop for everyone. You know what I mean? Everyone's individuals. You don't know what's going on in their backgrounds. You have the kids and small babies at home. You know what I mean? And you're talking about lack of sleep. That's one thing that's taken into consideration there as well. A few things like that. You need to kind of manage your players more than flog your players, really, more than that. And I think, as Mossy was dead right, was saying, coaches are in to do a job 2 or 3 year term, and they're getting the most out of that player. What happens after that player, after that 3 years, he's gone off to a different job. He doesn't really care, if you get me. So the county board should have an overall approach, really, and to look after and maintain their players in the long run, because I'd say their careers are going to get shorter, for argument's sake, because if they're doing that level of training all the way up, you start with a manager for 2 or 3 years, another manager comes in, obviously he's going to flog you. We need to get fitter, we need to get stronger. He's going to up the intensity there again, sure, your body's going to break down, you know, that kind of way. So I think it's onus on the county board now to have some strength and conditioning performance coach over whatever it is, and they should rule on when lads need a night off or not, you know, that kind of way.
No, I think that's it's a fair point. I think the last thing you want to do is scare, like, I suppose, young people away from. Because I know there's lads at home that are well able to hurl. Like, they're everywhere. They're well able to hurl, but the fact that they're up at 6 in the morning, be on the road to Dublin and back home, that they just decide, I'm not getting involved in the inter-county career. It's just too heavy.
Yeah.
It's just too heavy going on my life. And the last thing you want is people turning down or getting turned down and or not giving themselves the opportunity to play at an inter-county level, because obviously they're choosing their careers first, which is rightly so, because it's where it's bringing in the money. Do you know, and that's, for me, I suppose that's one area where I think it's probably another level where then it needs to go to be just player welfare and seeing into guys' backgrounds and what can they do more for them.
Yeah. It'd be wrong not to wrap without chatting about it. Lads, the All-Ireland, I know we're coming to that spot. Thankfully, you'd be glad to know the grounds are toughening up a bit. It's time for the rugby fellas to get off it and leave it to the proper sports of the summer, and we can all enjoy watching something entertaining for a change. But obviously it's tough for you. Obviously there's obviously inter-county bias, but how do you think it should fare out from what we've seen so far, JJ?
Yeah, should look, Limerick are sharpening their claws again, really, to be fair. You know what I mean? This time last year everyone was talking about Limerick kind of maybe coming down a peg or two, but they didn't come championship. You know what I mean? Whereas this year they're sharpening their claws, they're sticking out the chest and showing what they can do during the league, which is it looks a great challenge for whatever team. I think whoever team beats Limerick will win it. To be fair, what a challenge out there for the rest of the teams. I wouldn't be one bit afraid of them. As I said, they're up there for the last few years, and they're a fantastic team. But what an opportunity for a team to take them down. That's the motivation. If I was a player now, that's the motivation I'd be using going into it. That we'll take them on now, and if you beat them, what an opportunity to take down a brilliant Limerick team. Like.
Absolutely. Lee, I won't ask you about anyone else, but how are you fixed?
Yeah, I suppose for the moment, a bit of a mixed bag really throughout the National League. We're in one way we're getting a lot out of it, seeing a lot of different lads, finalising our panel. Dara's relatively still a new manager, doing a great job. Last year we won all our National League group games and didn't fare out too well when it came to championship. So I suppose the nature of it at the moment is everyone is trying to time it well, and it'd be interesting to see who's the most efficient at it, I suppose, because teams seem to be in different stages at the moment.
Yeah. For you, Mossy, how do you see it playing out?
Sure, Limerick are a force, like, you know what I mean? And fairness, last year I thought they had a bad start to the year and their mettle was tested and they still came out on top. So I think it's, as JJ said, it's up to everyone else, I suppose. But to try have a crack off and put it up to them, but to be honest, I find it hard to see now Limerick getting. But Wexford should have Leinster's fairly wide open now. They should have a good crack at the Leinster, but overall I can't see anyone touching Limerick, to be honest.
What do you think, Donny?
I'm shouting for Waterford, to be honest. That's where my loyalties are at the moment, so hopefully it'll go well in it. But I suppose it's amazing. I always feel unbelievably proud. Like I couldn't believe I went to the Limerick and Galway game, and just the sense of pride, the national identity, the coming together. When it comes to hurling and football and GAA in general, it's a harsh thing to say, but we never get near that emotional buy-in that you get for togging out for your counties. It really is incredible. It's amazing to see, and I just see it with my own kids now. It's where you get to show where you're from and how much you care about the people around you. So I suppose it's probably not a bad place to leave it, just in thanking you all that you did, Mossy and JJ. Unbelievable careers for putting it out there every time. So proud watching you tog out and reflect all of us. It was incredible. And Lee, we wish you continued success as you go on. An incredible player, and we hope we get everything you want out of the game and in life. And lads, thanks so much for joining us on the pod today.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
So, Donncha, as you know, every week we have a spotlight event looking at one of our Chadwick suppliers, and this week we are very lucky to have as a guest Mr. Brian Gilmore from Irish Cement. Brian, you're very welcome to the show.
Thanks, man, Pat. Great to be here. Good to meet you, Donncha.
Yeah, likewise, Brian.
Brian, do you want to tell us a little bit about Irish Cement? I mean, it's synonymous obviously with Ireland. Would you mind tell us, listeners who wouldn't know, where you guys are based and kind of what you guys do?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I know most of your audience are probably well used to buying bags of Irish Cement, but probably not aware that this year we're 85 years in business.
Wow.
So we started our business back in 1938. So 85 years in two communities, big employers in those two communities. The industry has absolutely transitioned, obviously, over those decades to be a very modern industry now, manufacturing cement, high-quality cement in the two plants. And, you know, most of your audience will know the difference between cement and concrete. But maybe for those people that don't know the difference between cement and concrete, we produce the fine powder, which goes into the concrete. It's one of the key ingredients. So concrete is made up of the cement, stone, sand, water, and that gets mixed together. So we're producing the fine cement. The concrete, when you think of it on a global scale, and again, something that a lot of people don't know, concrete is the second most used substance on the planet after water. So the scale of the industry across the world is huge. And I suppose in Ireland, we've got some really good concrete technology. We've some really good quality concrete. And, you know, when you look at the infrastructure around us, a lot of what we do and what we take for granted on a day-to-day basis is based on concrete. Building foundations, runways, roads, ports, coastal protection. You know, if you start to think about it, concrete's everywhere, but most of us take it for granted completely.
Brian, why are we so good at it?
Well, we've got good raw materials here. Most countries are good at it, actually, because it is a great material. It's a very flexible material. It's a tool that the architects and the engineers and the construction guys use to build the shelter that we have, to build, as I said, all the infrastructure, housing, schools, hospitals. So we couldn't live our modern lives without it. And the scale, obviously, is based on huge quantities of suitable raw materials in Ireland. Limestone is the key raw material that we need for cement, and we've got a huge amount of limestone in the country. And then I suppose we have the skills. We've made the investments over the years to be able to make cement in a very modern way, which helps to reduce some of the impacts, because it's a big industry and it does have impact. So sustainability is a key challenge for us. We've already managed to reduce our carbon footprint. We're making cement in a more energy efficient way, and we've introduced a new type of cement to the market back about 2008. And in doing so, we've saved, huge quantities of carbon. Probably over 3 million tonnes of carbon has been reduced. That's not been emitted now by us as a business, because we've changed the product portfolio, and we've worked with our customers to make sure they're getting high quality cement for their applications. But it's involved in every construction project, no matter how big or how small. If you've laid any footpaths at home, done any small DIY projects, cement is a key part of that. And I suppose our company and our operators in our plants, that we're really proud of the job we do, and some of the really high profile projects that we're involved in. It gives a great pride to us and to the local communities that we operate in. And we're big supporters of local communities, with local schools. Love bringing the school children into the factory for them to get a chance to see, and that pride that comes across from the workforce showing what we do. And that's a big transformation. In the past, there wasn't the same pride in the business, but there is now, because we can see a role, we can see our purpose in how we're constructing Ireland for the future. Because we've a long way to go yet to continue to reduce our impacts. As I said, we've already brought down our carbon footprint, but we've a commitment in this decade, from 2020 to 2030, to reduce it by a quarter again. So that's going to see big further investments, changes in the technology we have on our cement factory sites to make sure we can continue to reduce the carbon footprint. And that's a challenge that we're up for, and we're communicating that out to all of our customers and our stakeholders. And I suppose cement, Irish cement, is synonymous with quality. I mean, we have a name for the top quality. And we're very proud of the fact that we provide great technical expertise to our customers who ring us up with a wide range of queries. How much water should we be adding to this concrete? What about cold weather conditions? How do we use concrete? How do we use your cement product in these different conditions? And it's a big part of our future. You hear people talking about offshore wind and how there's going to be floating turbines off the west coast of Ireland. Somebody was telling me recently that some of those floating turbines, the foundation for those is going to take up to 25,000 tonnes of concrete alone. But that's a huge opportunity for Ireland to be able to generate that electricity off the west coast, harness that power and bring it ashore, and then potentially be an exporter. So concrete is going to be able to enable that sort of sustainable future for us as a country. And that's something, I suppose, as Irish Cement, been around for 85 years, we're very proud to be part of.
Yeah, you mentioned that there's sustainability, but in 85 years, that's evolved and changed an awful lot. And maybe there was a message that wasn't probably always getting across in that time. Do you feel now that you're on message with where you'd like to go?
I think there's always more work to be done, but you're quite right. I suppose as an industry, it's an industry that people take for granted. And getting out there and talking to the local communities and talking to the various stakeholders who use our product or hear about our product, many of them didn't know how cement was made. So we're very keen to bring visitors to the cement factories and get them to understand exactly how we make cement. We have to use really high energy to be able to melt the rocks. So the cement production process is you grind up the rock, you're constantly testing the quality, the chemical quality of the rocks. We use natural rocks, the limestone and shale, grind it up to a really fine powder, and we're using millions of tonnes a year. Huge quantity, very big scale. As an industry, it's very exciting because we have large explosions in our quarries, blasts to harvest the rock. We have some of the hottest temperatures of any industry in Ireland. Our flame temperature inside our cement kiln is over 2,000 degrees. Something that most people don't know about. Your oven at home goes up to, 200, 240 degrees?
If you're lucky.
Don't hasn't seen an oven in his life, will stop.
110, but the end of the pizzas are never any that good.
And that feels hot when you open the oven. Yeah. So we're talking huge scales, hotter than lava coming out of a volcano. So they're the kind of challenges that we have about how do we communicate those kind of facts to people. And one area where it starts to resonate with people is that your household waste, many of the things you put in your bin, talk about pizza there, pizza packet, some of those things, composite packaging, it's not a recyclable material. So those waste materials are taken by the waste industry and they're transformed into a fuel for us. So over the last number of years, the last 15 years, instead of using imported fossil fuel, we've been able to directly replace about 500,000 tonnes of imported coal or pet coke, which are the fuels we would have used in the past, with locally sourced waste materials that are turned into alternative fuels for us. It's the way Europe goes, and that brings our carbon footprint down. But not only does it do that, it's a resource that we have in the country, and if we didn't take it, it would have to be landfilled or exported. So these are kind of some of the messages that we're getting across to people, and people starting to see the cement industry in a different light. Instead of just being a big, large factory in your community, there are lots of advantages to having the cement industry on the island, having us here operating and making the cement, the high-quality cement for the island. Because when you go back in history, we didn't have cement here at an industrial scale until the 1930s when we started up. And we were dependent on other countries to make the cement and import the cement into the country. So again, a lot of people don't think about it. So you're absolutely right. Sustainability has completely changed. So we're trying to do more with less. You know, how do we make cement into the future with less impact on the environment? And big investments are going to be required. Longer term, post 2030, we're going to have to capture the carbon that we're emitting. And there's technology available there, but it's a big cost associated with that. So we have to get out there and speak to all the policymakers and get them to understand our ambition, how we're going to get to net zero, which is an industry commitment to get to net zero by 2050. So a lot of work to do.
Yeah. You mentioned community as well, though, like 85 years within two communities. Can you expand on that a little bit more, the importance? And you mentioned pride so many times.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Very, very much part of two local communities, one down in Limerick and one up in Drogheda. And while we don't have the same huge workforce now on our modern cement factories, because a lot of automation, as we did back in the past, we would have had hundreds of people working there, there's still a great pride in the local communities about the cement factories and the fact that they operated, and they were great employers for many of the communities and many of the families that lived in the communities. And I suppose we've continued that, as I said, that we've a strong relationship with schools up in Drogheda and Limerick. Just recently, actually, our environmental manager was out in Thomond Community College down in Limerick, working with a charity there called Planting Tiny Forests. So 900 native Irish trees were planted in the school grounds, sponsored by Irish Cement, which produces an opportunity around nature, biodiversity, carbon capture. And it's a great project for the community. We had a whole lot of the kids out planting trees there last week. And the local charity Living Forest, I think they're called, based in Limerick, they'll end up managing that for the next 3 years. So that's an example. Up in Drogheda, we send some of our volunteers, our employees out into the classroom to talk about day in the industry, what a day is like, the different roles, because we have loads of engineers working in our factories. We've got operators, we've electricians, we've fitters, we've a whole range of different employment opportunities. And that's a great opportunity for the kids. Some of the kids who may not see school as being that important, we go in and try and get those messages across. Stick with your education, see what opportunities are out there. Come in and visit the factory, see are there roles here that could be of interest to you. And great feedback from the teachers, great engagement. And it gives them, I suppose, a perspective outside of this classroom as to where they could be into the future.
So the future is bright for concrete in Ireland?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's an essential material. At a global scale, there's going to be more and more concrete required because the population of the planet, they say, is getting bigger and bigger all the time. And more people are choosing to live in cities. And concrete's an ideal material for high density, for apartment living, for all the infrastructure that's required.
Great story. So on that note, look, Brian, thank you very much for coming in to see us, and thanks very much for the information. Donncha.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks,
Great to meet
Brian.
you too, guys.
Yeah, likewise. The Under Construction podcast is produced by the Podcast Studios for Chadwicks, Ireland's leading building merchant company, where you can choose from the best products and expert advice to get the job done. Drop into any of your local Chadwicks stores nationwide or visit us online at chadwicks.ie.